Behind the glittering lights of Nashville, even the most celebrated country kings carried secrets that threatened to unravel their legacies. From forbidden romances to shocking affairs hidden behind closed doors, these stories reveal the scandals Nashville never wanted the world to see. In this video, we uncover 10 country kings whose secret affairs rocked their careers, leaving fans stunned and the industry forever changed. Hank Williams, the tragic king of country affairs. Hank Williams is remembered as one of the founding fathers of country music, a voice that carried both raw emotion and timeless melodies. Yet behind the curtain of fame, his personal life spiraled in ways that shocked even his closest fans. Married young to Audrey Shepherd, their volatile relationship was marked by constant fights, jealousy, and Williams' increasing dependence on alcohol and painkillers. Nashville adored him for hits like Your Cheatin' Heart, but many whispered the song wasn't just art, it was a confession. During his short but explosive career, Hank became infamous for his affairs. He was known to have romantic entanglements while still married to Audrey, and rumors spread quickly across Nashville's tight-knit community. His charm and restless spirit drew women to him, but every affair chipped away at his marriage and his reputation. By the early 1950s, the scandals had begun to overshadow his genius, turning headlines about his artistry into tabloid fodder. One of the most public betrayals was his relationship with Billie Jean Jones, a younger woman who would later marry both Hank and, after his death, fellow country legend Johnny Horton. For fans, it was proof of how tumultuous his love life had become. Nashville insiders whispered about how Williams' affairs created enemies in the industry and widened the cracks in his career. His reputation as a tortured genius now came with a dangerous edge, one that promoters and the Grand Ole Opry could no longer ignore. When Hank Williams died tragically at just 29, his affairs were part of the mythology that haunted his legacy. His personal chaos, fueled by secret romances, mirrored the heartbreak in his songs. To this day, his life is a cautionary tale. Even a king of country could not escape the ruinous weight of scandalous love. George Jones, love affairs that fueled the fire. George Jones, often called the Possum, possessed one of the most soulful voices country music has ever known. His rendition of He Stopped Loving Her Today is regarded as the greatest country song of all time. But while audiences saw him as the poet of heartbreak, Jones lived that pain in real time. His secret affairs and troubled marriages became as legendary as his music. Jones married multiple times, and each union seemed haunted by betrayal. His most famous relationship was with Tammy Wynette, the first lady of country music. To the public, they were the golden couple of Nashville, recording timeless duets like Golden Ring. But behind closed doors, George's affairs and drinking binges tore at the seams of their marriage. Nashville tabloids thrived on stories of his infidelity, with rumors linking him to backup singers, industry insiders, and women who saw him as both a star and a tragic figure. The scandals didn't just play out in private, they seeped into his professional life. Promoters worried about his reputation, and record labels struggled to contain the damage when whispers of affairs hit the press. His unpredictable behavior, often fueled by alcohol, gave Nashville plenty of fodder for gossip. Every time he failed to show up to a concert, fans speculated about whether a secret lover or another night of excess had kept him away. Despite the chaos, George Jones's voice never wavered. Fans clung to his music because it reflected his turbulent soul. Ironically, the affairs that threatened to destroy him also gave authenticity to his heartbreak ballads. When he sang of betrayal and longing, it wasn't an act. It was the soundtrack of his own life. In the end, Jones survived his darkest years, but the memory of his scandalous affairs lingers. Nashville forgave him because his artistry was unmatched, yet his personal life remains one of the most cautionary tales in country music. Even kings can fall prey to their own desires. Johnny Cash, the affair that redefined a legend. Johnny Cash was more than just a singer. He was a cultural icon. His deep baritone voice and rebellious spirit made him one of country music's most celebrated figures. But while audiences saw him as a symbol of authenticity, Cash carried a scandalous secret: his affair with June Carter while still married to his first wife, Vivian Liberto. What began as a working relationship on tour blossomed into a romance that Nashville both admired and condemned. Cash met June Carter in the late 1950s when he was a rising star, and she was already a member of the legendary Carter family. Their chemistry on stage was undeniable, and fans couldn't ignore the sparks. Yet behind the applause, Cash's personal life was in turmoil. Married with 4 daughters, he was also battling addictions to pills and alcohol. The affair with June became an open secret, whispered in backstage corridors, gossiped about in tabloids, and eventually impossible to hide. Vivian, his first wife, later revealed how devastating the betrayal was. She recalled phone calls from fans and friends telling her about Johnny and June's closeness, adding salt to an already painful wound. Nashville, a city that prized traditional family values, was torn. On one hand, they condemned the affair. On the other, the Cash-Carter pairing was magnetic, almost destined. The scandal rocked his career during its peak. Promoters worried about his image, churches protested his concerts, and the Grand Ole Opry famously banned him for destructive behavior linked to his wild lifestyle. Yet, paradoxically, the affair gave rise to some of the greatest love songs in country history. When Cash and June performed Jackson or Ring of Fire, audiences knew those songs weren't just lyrics, they were confessions. Eventually, Cash divorced Vivian and married June in 1968. Their love endured until June's death in 2003, just months before Johnny followed her. For fans, it became one of country's greatest love stories, but its scandalous beginning is impossible to ignore. The affair nearly destroyed his career, yet it also immortalized him as a man whose flaws made his music all the more powerful. Garth Brooks, the superstar, entangled in secret love. Garth Brooks rose to fame in the late 1930s and quickly became the most commercially successful country artist of all time. His mix of honky-tonk, rock energy, and heartfelt ballads won him millions of fans worldwide. To the public, Brooks projected the image of a devoted family man, married to his college sweetheart Sandy Mall and raising 3 daughters. Yet behind the curtain, whispers of a secret romance began to circle, threatening to shatter the wholesome persona Nashville adored. During his meteoric rise, Garth grew close to fellow country singer Trisha Yearwood. Their professional collaborations, duets, tours, and appearances sparked rumors that their relationship was more than just musical. Fans noticed the chemistry on stage, and industry insiders whispered that the sparks continued off stage as well. At the time, Brooks was still married, and any confirmation of an affair would have risked his career, particularly since his fan base cherished the values of family and loyalty. By the mid-1990s, tabloids were filled with speculation about Garth's secret life. Sandy Mall, his first wife, later admitted that his long absences, constant touring, and undeniable closeness with Trisha created irreparable cracks in their marriage. The affair rumors became so loud that even Garth's success couldn't drown them out. For Nashville, the idea that the biggest country star in history might be living a double life was a scandal too big to ignore. In 2001, Brooks announced his retirement from recording and performing, citing a desire to spend time with his family. But many saw it as a way to quietly step back from the mounting personal scrutiny. Just a few years later, his divorce from Sandy was finalized, one of the most expensive in country music history, and in 2005, he married Trisha Yearwood, essentially confirming what many had long suspected. For fans, it was a shock, yet also a vindication. The rumors of an affair had not been baseless. Though his career rebounded, and he remains beloved as a legend, the scandal surrounding his personal life marked a turning point. Garth Brooks proved that even kings of country could not keep their secrets hidden forever. Merle Haggard, the outlaw king and his hidden affairs. Merle Haggard's life was the very definition of country music rebellion. From his time in prison to his rise as one of the genre's most respected storytellers, Haggard embodied the outlaw spirit. Songs like Mama Tried and Okie from Muskogee made him a voice for working-class America. Yet while fans celebrated his authenticity, few knew the tangled web of secret affairs that shadowed his career, each one leaving scars on both his personal life and professional reputation. Haggard married 5 times, and nearly every marriage bore the weight of infidelity. His whirlwind relationship with fellow country star Bonnie Owens ended in divorce amid rumors of his wandering eye. Later, when he married Leona Williams, another country singer, Nashville insiders already whispered about his inability to remain faithful. It wasn't unusual to hear stories of Merle leaving on tour with one wife, only to be seen backstage with another woman in a different city. The secrecy surrounding his affairs was made worse by his fame. Nashville's tight-knit circle rarely kept secrets for long, and rumors of Merle's infidelity spread through the industry like wildfire. His outlaw persona gave him a certain shield. Fans almost expected him to break the rules. But the reality was darker. Each affair chipped away at his marriages, creating heartbreak and public embarrassment for those closest to him. At one point, his personal scandals threatened to eclipse his artistry. Promoters worried about how audiences might react, while record executives braced for the fallout from yet another tabloid headline. But like many legends, Haggard turned his turmoil into music. Heartache and betrayal fueled some of his most poignant songs, making listeners feel as though they were hearing a confession wrapped in melody. Even in later years, when he tried to settle down, the shadow of his affairs lingered. Interviews and biographies continued to reveal the pain his secret romances caused, not only to his wives, but also to his children. For Nashville, Merle Haggard stood as proof that even the most celebrated outlaw kings could not escape the destructive power of hidden love. His legacy remains monumental, but his affairs are inseparable from the man he was, restless, rebellious, and forever complicated. 6. Conway Twitty, the Ballad King and His Secret Romances. Conway Twitty was the master of smooth country ballads, known for chart-topping hits like Hello Darlin' and Tight-Fittin' Jeans. His velvety voice and romantic lyrics made him the ultimate crooner of Nashville, adored by millions of fans. To the public, he was the embodiment of love and passion. But behind the carefully polished image, Twitty's personal life was marked by hidden affairs and romantic entanglements that Nashville insiders couldn't stop whispering about. Twitty was married 4 times, and every marriage seemed to unravel under the weight of his secret liaisons. As a touring superstar, Conway was constantly surrounded by adoring female fans, and rumors of backstage romances followed him wherever he went. Nashville tabloids frequently hinted that his love songs were inspired by more than just imagination, that they were echoes of real-life affairs that risked his reputation. His most controversial period came during the height of his partnership with Loretta Lynn. Together, they recorded some of the most iconic duets in country history, such as Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man. Their chemistry was undeniable, so much so that fans speculated the bond went beyond the recording studio. Though both denied a romantic relationship, whispers persisted that Conway's flirtations and rumored affairs often created tension in his personal life and added fuel to the gossip mills of Nashville. The secrecy surrounding his affairs became part of the Conway Twitty mystique. While he was never publicly disgraced in the same way as other country kings, the shadows of his private life loomed large. Industry insiders admitted that his relationships with women, often kept hidden, caused strain within his band and even among his closest business partners. For fans who idealized him as the ultimate gentleman of country, the idea of a double life was both shocking and fascinating. Even after his passing in 1993, stories about Twitty's secret affairs continued to surface. Biographers and former associates revealed how his romantic entanglements shaped his music and at times destabilized his home life. For Nashville, Conway Twitty represented a paradox. A man who could sing about love with unmatched sincerity while quietly living a life filled with scandalous romances. His legacy as the Ballad King remains untouchable. But the hidden affairs remind us that even the most charming voices in country music carried secrets that threatened to silence them. Willie Nelson, the outlaw with too many secrets. Willie Nelson is a legend who transcends country music. With his braids, bandanas, and unmistakable voice, he became the face of the outlaw movement, redefining what it meant to be a country king. Yet while fans admired his free spirit and rebellious nature, Willie's personal life was a storm of marriages, affairs, and secrets that proved even icons weren't immune to scandal. Nelson married 4 times, and each marriage carried its share of drama. His second wife, Shirley Colley, discovered one of his affairs in perhaps the most shocking way possible, by opening a hospital bill addressed to Willie for the birth of another woman's child. That child was Paula Carleen Nelson, born from his relationship with Connie Kopke, who would eventually become his third wife. The revelation not only destroyed his marriage, but also sent shockwaves through Nashville, which thrived on whispers of infidelity. For a genre that prided itself on family values, Willie's affairs were scandalous. Newspapers feasted on the drama, and fans were divided, some condemning him, others shrugging it off as part of his outlaw image. Nelson himself never shied away from admitting his flaws. In interviews, he openly confessed to being unfaithful, often with a touch of humor that disarmed critics, but did little to erase the pain left in the wake of his actions. Even beyond his marriages, Willie's name was tied to countless rumored affairs. His relentless touring lifestyle and magnetic stage presence drew women in, and Nashville insiders claimed that almost every stop on the road carried its temptations. The consequences were heavy: broken homes, strained friendships, and an enduring reputation as a man who could never quite be tied down. Yet paradoxically, Willie Nelson turned his turbulent love life into fuel for his artistry. Songs like Always on My Mind and Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain carried an authenticity that only someone who had lived through heartbreak and betrayal could deliver. Fans forgave him because his music made them feel understood, as though his personal sins gave his art its soul. Today, Willie Nelson is celebrated as one of the greatest country musicians of all time, but woven into his legacy is a thread of scandalous affairs that nearly derailed him. For Nashville, he became the ultimate outlaw, not just in music, but in love. Bat, Waylon Jennings, the rebel king and his dangerous affairs. Waylon Jennings was the epitome of the outlaw spirit in country music. With his rugged voice and rebellious persona, he helped redefine the genre in the Mwintin Bemdis, standing shoulder to shoulder with Willie Nelson as a pioneer of outlaw country. But beyond the music and the leather jackets, Jennings carried a personal life riddled with secret affairs, broken marriages, and scandals that made him both fascinating and feared in Nashville. Jennings was married 4 times, and his reputation for infidelity followed him through each relationship. His second marriage, to country singer Lynn Jones, fell apart under the weight of his heavy drug use and affairs. Even as he built a larger-than-life career, Waylon was known for giving in to temptation, often with women he met on the road. Nashville insiders whispered that the outlaw image wasn't just for show. His affairs were as reckless and unapologetic as his music. By the mid-1970s, Jennings' love life became as much a topic of conversation as his songs. Though he eventually found stability with his 4th wife, Jessie Coulter, their relationship too was tested by his wandering eye and turbulent lifestyle. Jessie, herself a successful singer, admitted that Jennings' affairs and drug addictions nearly destroyed their marriage. Yet, despite the pain, she remained one of the few anchors in his chaotic life, proving that even a rebel needed someone to keep him grounded. For Nashville, Jennings' affairs were both shocking and strangely expected. His outlaw persona gave him room to break the rules, but the consequences were real. Record labels worried about his image, fans debated his morality, and tabloids thrived on exposing the next secret romance. Each affair threatened to overshadow his artistry, painting him not only as a musical innovator, but also as a man whose personal life teetered on the edge of disaster. Still, Waylon Jennings managed to transform his chaos into art. Songs like Luckin' Back Texas and Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way carried an authenticity born from a life of defiance and mistakes. His legacy remains untouchable, but the shadow of his affairs lingers as part of the complex portrait of a man who lived life on his own terms, no matter the cost. Kenny Rogers, the gambler of love and scandal. Kenny Rogers was more than a country singer. He was an international superstar whose hits like The Gambler, Lady, and Islands in the Stream transcended genres. His silky voice and charismatic presence made him a household name far beyond Nashville. To fans, he embodied charm and sophistication. Yet behind the polished image, Rogers' personal life was a complicated saga of marriages, affairs, and scandals that shook both his career and his reputation. Rogers married 5 times, and nearly every union was clouded by rumors of infidelity. His early marriages fell apart quickly, often amid accusations of cheating. The tabloids thrived on stories about Kenny's wandering heart, portraying him as a man who could never settle down despite his image as a romantic balladeer. For Nashville, it was a contradiction. How could the man who sang so sincerely about love betray it so recklessly in his own life? One of the most talked about scandals came during his third marriage, when rumors of secret affairs with women he met on the road made headlines. As one of the most sought-after entertainers of the 1980s, Rogers was constantly surrounded by adoration, and temptation was never far away. Insiders claimed his relentless touring schedule provided cover for romances he worked hard to keep hidden. The fallout from these affairs was often brutal. His marriages crumbled, and divorce settlements became some of the most expensive in country music history. Fans who adored his music were stunned by the chaos of his private life, and the media used his scandals to sell stories that threatened to overshadow his artistry. Even his long friendship and duet partnership with Dolly Parton was subject to gossip, though both denied a romantic relationship. Despite the scandals, Rogers managed to maintain his superstar status. Part of his survival lay in his ability to be candid. In later interviews, he admitted to his mistakes, even joking about how his failed marriages were partly his fault. That honesty, coupled with his undeniable talent, helped him regain the public's trust. Kenny Rogers' legacy today is that of a legend whose songs defined an era. But beneath the success lies a turbulent personal life marked by secret affairs and broken vows. For Nashville, he was proof that even the most charming country kings could gamble with love, and sometimes lose everything. Murray, Glen Campbell, The Rhinestone Cowboy's Hidden Affairs. Glen Campbell was one of the brightest stars to emerge from country music's golden era. With crossover hits like Rhinestone Cowboy and Gentle on My Mind, and his popular television variety show, he became a household name in the 1960s and 70s. To audiences, Campbell was the clean-cut cowboy who brought country into mainstream pop culture. But offstage, his personal life told a far more scandalous story, one filled with secret affairs, volatile relationships, and a reputation that Nashville could not ignore. Campbell's love life was famously chaotic. Married 4 times, he was known for being restless in romance. Whispers of extramarital affairs followed him throughout his marriages, often spilling into the press. His relationship with country singer Mac Davis's wife at the time became one of the industry's most notorious rumors. For Nashville insiders, it was clear that Glen's charm and fame often drew him into situations that risked both his career and his credibility. The most public scandal came during his highly turbulent relationship with Tanya Tucker, one of country's brightest rising stars at the time. Their affair was explosive, marked by passion, drugs, and fights that the tabloids eagerly devoured. At the time, Glen was still untangling himself from other romantic commitments, making the relationship appear even more scandalous. For conservative Nashville, the Campbell-Tucker saga was a nightmare. It tarnished both of their reputations and became one of the most infamous love stories in country history. These affairs had consequences. Campbell's squeaky clean television image clashed with the reality of his private life. His career suffered during the late 1970s as headlines about drugs, affairs, and destructive romances overshadowed his artistry. Though he later managed a comeback, including his powerful farewell song, I'm Not Gonna Miss You, the scandals of his love life remained an indelible part of his story. In the end, Glen Campbell's legacy is dual. A dazzling entertainer whose music defined an era, and a man whose secret affairs revealed the fragility behind the rhinestone facade. For Nashville, he was a cautionary tale that even the brightest cowboy stars could be undone by the affairs they tried to keep hidden.